Perhaps due to the daily barrage of stories revealing vast immigration disputes in the United States, many Americans might feel twisted, darkly ironic satisfaction seeing one of the highest profile proponents of sanctuary cities and, of course, of unchecked immigration appear month by month to be changing his proverbial tune. Indeed, New York City Mayor Eric Adams, the Democrat, seems to be growing more averse to unlimited immigration. And on December 27th, the big honcho of the Big Apple once more went high profile, announcing his issuance of an executive order that appears to be part of a showy game of chicken with Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Republican. It looks almost like another desperate attempt to get the $34 trillion in debt federal government to hand his city more cash. And it looks like it easily could be challenged on constitutional grounds. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. Eric Adams. Yes, Mayor Adams is targeting chartered buses from Texas, which may or may not carry migrants put on those buses by agents of the Lone Star government under orders by Greg Abbott. And the New York City mayor said,
"Today, I'm announcing an executive order requiring charter buses transporting migrants, those often contracted by the state of Texas, to provide 32-hour notice in advance of their arrival into New York City."
If buses fail to comply, Adams has declared it a Class B misdemeanor, and that could result in fines and/or the impounding of the violating buses. On a practical level, Adams' executive order easily can be circumvented, as Leah Barkoukas reports for Town Hall after Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson instituted a similar Gestapo-like edict last month. Well, bus drivers simply changed their destinations. Quote, "Bus operators in Chicago have gone around the new rules by dropping illegal border crossers off in suburbs. And Governor Abbott has also flown them to the city instead." Additionally, charter buses from Texas can stop outside the city and the state of New York and just allow new buses from other states to take the passengers to New York City. Wow. Anyway, Adams' issuance of his magical order seems pretty much decoupled from any of the mayoral powers that the city, state, or the federal statutes and constitutions might possibly allow. Likewise, any decent lawyer will have a field day pointing out the numerous ways in which Adams' plan flouts nearly half of the Bill of Rights. Well, regardless, Adams added,
"To make sure we have sufficient staffing, we are also requiring that these charter buses arrive only between 8:30 a.m. and 12 p.m., Monday through Friday, and to only drop off passengers at one spot unless directed otherwise by New York City Emergency Management." Which
is about as moral, constitutional, and practically enforceable as commanding Uber drivers to not pick up people outside of those morning hours and telling drivers and riders where they may and may not disembark. And as N Wokeness pointed out on December 29th, guess what? Bus drivers and passengers aren't paying Adams any heed. Quote, 2 days ago, New York Mayor Eric Adams signed an executive order to curb the flow of migrant buses from Texas. For the second night in a row, buses from Texas are defying his order. But regardless of Adams' lack of forethought and stunning lack of enforcement capacity, there are deeper points to take away from this. As I noted, Adams' attempt to control people driving buses from other states and to demand IDs from drivers indicates Adams' assumption that he can disregard the Fourth Amendment and demand papers, please, of anyone driving a bus into the city. And clearly, this tactic is reminiscent of a totalitarian state, and it might prompt a few freedom backers to wonder how American cities and states got to the point where, without judge-issued public warrants, police agents of government can demand IDs, demand license permission slips, stop and frisk people, as they tried in New York a few years ago, contrary to the Fourth Amendment, and prohibit business operation without a trial or accusation of a crime. Those last all are contrary to the Fifth, Sixth, and Eighth Amendments. Of course, Adams doesn't seem concerned about the Constitution. Additionally, the Biden administration's lack of border enforcement can inspire feelings of anger and frustration among those who see a bankrupt U.S. government adding human burdens to welfarism, police needs, and other day-to-day factors in the operation of the nation in various states. But despite it appearing to be minutia, a close reading of the U.S. Constitution during this explosive time also allows us to see a peculiar difference between what the feds are allowed to do for immigration policing in a place like Texas versus what the Constitution might be claimed to grant to the feds for New York. Article 1, Section 9 of the United States Constitution is the only portion of the document that might be misinterpreted as pertaining to the voluntary movement of people from another nation to the states or from state to state. And in fact, it only applies to the original 13 states, not to Texas or any other state. And it actually only focuses on the importation of slaves. In fact, Texas included a state Bureau of Immigration in its constitution when it was adopted. So there's a lot to learn in the current immigration conflagration, a lot of legal scholarship that lets one see what the founders intended and how utterly screwed up the current look to Washington for the answers on immigration actually is. But in a world where, after being so overtly pro-open borders, people like Adams now grandstand and even call on the federal government to hand them more money to handle the crisis, it's important to see how and why this problem exists. Biden's mismanagement of the immigration matter might be intentional, but the reliance on federal answers for what is supposed to be a state issue isn't going to see any long-term security. Conservatives should keep that in mind. And of course, moves like Adams's will simply see more erosion of the Bill of Rights. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe. Find us on Rumble, where they don't censor us, and share those videos far and wide. You can also find us on YouTube, where yes, they have censored us, and visit the Facebook group for MRC-TV. Check us out on Instagram, check us out on TikTok, and of course on X/Twitter. And if you want to find me there, I'm at Guard Goldsmith. Please visit the MRC-TV website to find out what the whole team is doing. That is MRCTV.org. And of course, while you're there, visit the MRC Store, and please consider donating to the Media Research Center. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.